Can you introduce yourself?
Yes, my name is Talanoa from Uhila, Angilau. I'm known as Sia. I'm a mother and a wife, and I have one child. And I love to write stories of people.
So, as a former teacher, how do you see storytelling as an educational tool, maybe in the classroom?
The good thing about storytelling is that it's applicable in all contexts and to a variety of audiences. You know, you can stand up and tell a story to a whole audience, and all of them will learn a different lesson from just that one story. And so is it like for a teacher in the classroom. You know, you can take stories and use it however you like in your context, from the introduction of a lesson to the conclusion of it. You can use storytelling. You know, in the beginning of the year, I would have done better as a teacher to allow the students to show me who they are through their stories, you know, or to tell me the stories that are passed down in their families, because it'll tell me so much about them, you know. And I would be able to illustrate my lessons better in the content and would stick more in the students if I had used storytelling, you know, when you introduce new concepts, complex ideas, stories are a way of simplifying that and making it stick with the students, that even when they can forget facts or names or whatnot, you know, those details, they can remember the concept, you know, they can remember the story associated with it, and then they're able to recall that, you know. Because I taught English always has a way of storytelling, and so you can use it in reviews, in tests, in quizzes, you know, reading comprehension, and especially in the Tongan context, because it's different when you read a story that's yours. You know, in English, I try to tell Pacific stories, and Eperiha offers short stories were always much more entertaining and much more memorable to my students than, you know, Edgar Allan Poe's poems or, you know, whatnot. Konai Helu's poems were always sticking more because of the context and the relevance of it. So as a teacher, I would encourage you to use storytelling in any way that you can, because the kids love them, you know, even as adults we do.
Mhm. So, how do you see storytelling as an educational tool outside of the classroom or in the community?
um i my formal education ended about 12 or so years ago, you know, but I've never stopped learning, and I learn from different people, from different things. And I think that I hope the stories that I tell, and any story, you know, they're able to teach you lessons and valuable skills that, you know, you found. Like, I am so much richer up here because of the things that I've learned from the people I've talked to. And I've tried to show that to the young people, that you can learn from anyone, anywhere, you know, and in the communities, that in that way, you know, even though you're not a fisherman, you can learn from a fisherman, you know, the power of hard work, you know, what it's like for them to go out there as a farmer, you know, the struggles they have to go through to put food on the table, you know. I'm more appreciative, and I have a lot more humility towards what my parents have sacrificed for me as a child now, because of the stories I tell, you know. Because you go and tell, you meet people, some are, you know, some are very good at telling it, some are not so, but the lessons are always there. There's always a lesson to learn, you know. There's always experiences, and then you have them as human resources, you know. If you want to learn about this, if you want to know about this service, you have the photograph, you have the village, you can go and look for the person, and they can help and teach you, you know. And that's the power of stories. You can always have an experience that's applicable to you, you know. And the stories are timeless, and the lessons shared, you know, uh, because over time, the lessons you learn from the same story can differ. I told a story of a mother who lost a child in 2020, I think, or so. If you had read that as a single person, then it means differently. You might feel sympathetic, you know, and all that. But if you read that after you lost a child, it's more personalized, you know. The lessons are timeless. It's applicable everywhere. And so I feel it as a community, we stay connected through storytelling. We share so much values through storytelling, and as an educational tool, it's personalized, especially in digital. It's just you and your phone. You can read, you can cry, you can go back and read it again. You know, you can draw your lessons, you can analyze it, however you want to do with them. You can do that with a story, you know. And I feel that's the power that would have, regardless of where you are or your background. There's something to be found from a story. Yeah.
So how do you see that same storytelling in the digital age with blogs and using it on social media like you are with ordinary Tongan lives?
Yeah, thank you. I think there's a certain thing that you need to adapt to, and there are things that you need to stick to, like principles, the skills, the techniques, and stuff. You know, some things may change. You need to allow room for that, and others need to be the same. In my storytelling with ordinary Tongan lives, the principles are ever the same. The values are ever the same. The way I am as a storyteller, you know, is the same. When it comes to the platform, you need to adjust. I always tell people, wear your cap, you know, remember your content, remember your audience, remember your purpose and why you write. That should always be hammered into your brain, whether you're storytelling or writing, wherever or whatever you do. The platform is just a tool, you know. I don't think my stories would be as popular if I had chosen Twitter over Facebook, you know. Facebook was where my audience was, and as much as I didn't and was hesitant to try it there, I knew my audiences were there, so I had to learn how to use Facebook. I learned how to start a page. But the way I write, you know, and my content and how I am as a person and the integrity of my writing has never changed, you know. So for a person who wants to do work in digital, or whether you want to do a blog or whether you want to do a website and all that, you know, remember your content. Don't fluff it. People will know when you do. Your audience, you have to be very specific about your target audience, your primary target audience, and everyone else can come second, third, and all that, but you have a primary target audience. And then your purpose. Know your why, because that is what will get you through the house, you know, and the challenges, because everything you embark on, there'll be challenges. I've had my challenges, but I've never lost track of my why, which is why I'm still writing how many years now. Yeah.
So what kind of advantages do you see to the connections you can make with this global connectivity and storytelling online?
I think online is a huge platform and a big blessing, eh? Because an ordinary Tongan or just becomes, you know, has 50,000 followers online that I never knew I had. I wouldn't have had that if I had just written on my journal, you know. And so, but your credibility, you know, the principles, the values you stand for, that speaks volumes, you know, and people want to know you. Same for my stories, you know. People want me to tell their stories because they know it'll be good, you know. They trust that my skill and my integrity, you know, and the transparency and accountability I have as a writer is there, you know, for them, and they know that I would tell their story in a kind way, you know. And so I think that shines through above all else. The other things in terms of connection, social media like offers you huge platforms. Once people establish your credibility, they know you have the skill, they know you can do storytelling, then they start connecting what you do to whatever they're doing, and they ask for your services. Yeah? For right now, especially, I'm involved in doing documentaries, I'm involved in doing short videos, I'm involved in writing a book, you know, biographies, and also writing in so many things, writing reports, coordinating events. I've never thought I would, just from simply writing on social media. That was the blessing of it, because it kind of amplified, you know, what I did as a person, from story writing in my room to writing all these big things and having this project. So if you have a love for something, be it writing or whatnot, you know, find the tools that can get you bigger audiences, and then make sure that you stay true to who you are and what you do. That will shine through, and then people will connect to you. Now I have clients from all over the world. Yeah, which is fun.
How do you get people to let their guards down and be
Mm.
vulnerable to tell their stories? Because some of the stories go very deep.
Yes, I think you have to understand that you're just merely an instrument. I think in terms of educational views, you're just a facilitator. You know, you're not there to teach people; they teach you. You know, you're the student. You're there to listen. You know, and so in the beginning, I think also that my skill as a teacher has really helped me with that. You know, because you first get the person to be comfortable in their own skin and to be who they are in front of you, you know. And once you get the person comfortable, then, you know, and they understand that you really are genuinely interested in their story and what they do, they'll slowly let the guard down. but you also, you as a person, the way you feel has to be felt by the person, so I can't be saying to you like I'm interested in your story, and then everything that I'm doing is telling you that I'm not. I listen more, even though I'm very opinionated, very talkative. When I go to people's stories, I listen more. Most times I'm like, okay, and I only allow them to tell me what they're willing to. I can't force them to tell me something they don't want to. I can only go as far as they go. The element of trust has to be there. Uh, no discrimination, no judgment. You have to allow people to tell you all these things, and even when they tell you unbelievable things, be like, oh, all right, you listen and allow them. And then the mafana, and then the maalia comes when they realize that they have an audience who's really genuinely interested with no agenda. You're not going to go sell them, you're not going to let them down. They really trust you, and when they understand that, they tell you everything. But you also have to be careful after, because even for me, I have to tell them, you've shared with me some very sensitive things. um, do you like me to not tell some things? And then they'll tell me, and I have to stay true to that. Confidentiality is a huge issue in Tonga, because people think when I tell you, you're going to tell everyone, and something just ends with me, because once I tell the story, that's it. And then if there are parts of it that it's unsettling and all that, I just pray and hope God will let that. But I don't go tell people about it. Some people have asked me for audios of this and who's this person. I'm like, I did not tell the person I'll give it to you, so I'm not giving it to you. That's important. Yeah.
So you had the opportunity to meet with Deputy Secretary of State Wendy Sherman when she was here, and a lot of that conversation was around youth in Tonga and looking inward for opportunities and growth instead of looking outward. And how do you see storytelling and the work you've done and the work with youth that you have done in addressing that?
Thank you. The funny thing is, when I met Deputy Secretary Wendy Sherman, it was a small meeting of community leaders and all that. Just after meeting with the youth, I had no idea what was going on in the room, but she had asked me, what's the passion? What's the thing that you're committed to, and all, your cause or whatever. And I told her that I would like to see and raise a generation of young people who are critical thinkers and independent, who are problem solvers, who can solve their own problems using the resources they have. Because I found from my experience in the community, in my storytelling, and in general living in Tonga, that most people grow up and they want to be out of Tonga as soon as they can. After school, I'm going to be a doctor somewhere and not come back here. And I wanted to, and I still want, what I want is to raise a generation of young people who don't think that way, who think it's like, well, there's wealth in Tonga. I can be a person in Tonga. There is so much there's richness in my culture and in my people. And instead of thinking the resources are out there and the opportunities are out there, they can think, I can use my mind and then my heart, and then I can be able to do so much for my people, given the resources that I have. I mean, right now, and in my writing, I've been able to be an entrepreneur by starting in my own one-bedroom house, with just whatever I had, to build a business. In my writing, I started in my journal, and taking it to social media had gained me over 54,000 followers I wouldn't have had. And so simple things, small and simple means bring about great things. And just from going around, I've had Tongans overseas. They say, we grew up in Tonga and we always wanted to go overseas, and now we come overseas and we know that we've just left the richness and the peacefulness at home. The life that we've lived for is actually back home in Tonga. And I want in my writing that the young people see that, you have heroes within your neighborhood, your own parents to look up to. You have resources everywhere. It's just a matter of creativity and using what you have at hand to bring about greater good. I just had my skill as a writer, and I knew words, And even though I spoke English as a second language, I thought I can do something for my people. And now I can reach 54,000 in just one day if I write a post on Facebook. It started from something small, and I would like our young people to think that way. There's there's something you can do wherever you are with what you have to help our people, to help your family. And it doesn't have to have a visa to America. It doesn't have to have a big building and a mansion so you can be able to do what you do. Start small and take small steps, and it will get you far.
Well, thank you so much for letting us tell your story in the reverse, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. I just want to take this time to thank US Peace Corps for this opportunity. It's wonderful to, I've heard of people say that you learn from experience. I think you learn from evaluated experience, and having opportunities to be interviewed like this allows me to evaluate and reevaluate and reflect again on my practice and what I do and what I can improve on. So I want to genuinely thank the US Peace Corps for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing me to share this, and I hope it would be of value to you and your audience, and also the young people, especially our people here in Tonga. Mahalo, Peter.
Mahalo.